Submerged. Well, this game didn't get very good reviews, so let's discuss where it missed the boat and how it could be improved. Hello and welcome to Critique Hit. I'm your host Kados, and today we're talking about Submerged. This was disappointing. I know there are some that enjoy this game, and that's great if you did, but overall those would be the minority. This video aims to show ways the game could be improved to offer greater appeal. Submerged was just recently released on PC, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. It was created by Uppercut Games, a studio here in Australia, founded by 3 ex-employees that worked on Bioshock. As much as I'd like to see Australian game development thrive, talking about an Aussie-made game like this ultimately breaks my heart a little. Now before I begin, I need to state a few things. This is a game which is meant to be considered an art piece, which is a commentary on the environment as well as providing simple narration. That's fine, art is subjective. However, for a game that is trying to be art, it sure does feel like a watered down game. And by that I mean you have the most basic of collectibles. You have a map that conveniently fills itself when you cover areas, waypoints, as well as a pretty predictable structure. And that's not even talking about the gameplay. Yes, the game is light on mechanics, but many games have had light mechanics and still been interesting and enjoyable. Journey immediately comes to mind. So I'm not commenting on the message the game is trying to deliver, but rather the way it delivers it, in which is ultimately lacking. It doesn't use the medium as well as it could to provide the overall message. With that out of the way, let's discuss. Hopefully this discussion can lead to better games in the future. We've got a bit to cover in this video, so we'll just be talking about the main points and not going too far in depth. The suggestions in this video will try to keep what I believe to be the vision of the creators, but make the overall experience more enjoyable. So let's dive in. The game introduces us to Miku as she brings her brother by boat to this mysterious city that has been flooded and overrun with plant life. So I like how this gives us time to come to grips with the environment and the world we are in. I'll take a moment here to say that graphically and visually this game is quite impressive. Now we see that Miku's brother has been injured and she drops him off on the makeshift bed at the bottom of this clock tower, and here the game begins. So the general gist of the game is that each day Miku must go out and explore the sunken city, acquiring supplies in order to help her wounded brother. Okay, so here's a bit of an issue. Our current motivation is to help the brother, however we've had a little time to be introduced to him as a character and to form any sort of connection. The game implies that you care about this character and want to save them, however we've had little reason apart from it being Miku's brother to care. It takes time to create a connection with a character and to form a likeness of them. And this is extra difficult given the lack of information we are given about the brother's character. The movie Up by Pixar did an amazing job of quickly connecting us to the character Carl by showing important moments during his life and the time spent with his wife. There are many shorthand ways for us to quickly like a character, such as them demonstrating a noble deed early on, like in the movie Aladdin. This game could have used some character building prior to the introduction, so that we actually care about saving the brother and to create a solid foundation of motivation. In fact, one of the major problems with the game is motivation. The real driving factors to keep us invested in the game are the story elements, as the game has 3 stories. What is happening now, what happened to the city and why it is submerged, and finally the specific events leading to the start of the game. So these are considered the 3 main motivators in the game. However, they all basically have the same type, which ultimately means that there's only one key motivation to play this game, the story/lore. If you're not interested in this, then most likely you'll stop playing this very soon. Take Mario, which is a sort of similar motivation of saving Peach. That quickly creates other forms of motivation for us to keep playing, which unfortunately Submerged is a bit watered down with. However, there is another element of motivation, and that would be exploration. The game just appears that it would be exciting to explore, and it is initially. Unfortunately, shortly after you learn the mechanics of the game and how the game functions, exploration is less enjoyable. I will give credit that finding the various creatures and the landmarks was quite fun, as they offered a reward which was to see something cool and interesting, and made us feel less alone in this ordeal, as well as spreading the message of the game. Overall, I wish they perhaps focused on adding more of these, rather than a ridiculous amount of collectibles in the game. Okay, so you may think this game has exploring, however it feels extremely limited, and part of the problem is that you already know what the reward will be at the end. I won't go too much in depth about exploration, but it's best enjoyed with a good sense of discovery. And when we know what the reward is, or if the reward will be substandard, or if we even know that there will be a reward for exploring certain parts, then it greatly diminishes the exploration experience. The game isn't so much about exploration, but more like go to these particular locations. It would have been much more interesting if they had more along the lines of the various creatures and landmarks, and perhaps having that tie in with delivering the story rather than through these bland chests. Alternatively, something else they could have done would be like finding the treasure chests with a map like in Elder Scrolls Online, Final Fantasy IX and other games. However, the biggest issue with Submerged is probably pacing. The pacing in this game is terrible. So each day you set off to find the latest supply to help your brother, climb a building, find the supply, be teleported home, rinse and repeat. The game is very repetitive and quite tedious in execution. Now the game does have limited mechanics, basically you climb or cruise around in your boat. However, a game such as Journey, which also has limited mechanics, has amazing pacing. In Journey you had moments where you'd be left to explore, moments where you had to do platforming, and times where the game quickened up or slowed down, creating a variety and experience, but also creating high points of both excitement and tension, and with rest periods where we could reflect. Now the music in Submerged is very good, but the issue is that it isn't implemented well. It's basically on this constant loop, and doesn't necessarily reflect what's happening during gameplay moments. Whereas in Journey you had these moments of grandeur, and the music was epic, while during the slower paced moments it was quieter, and sometimes somber. Overall, almost the entire experience with Submerged makes it feel as if it's in this constant rest period, with low tension and engagement. The mechanics we have in this game also feel a bit lackluster. After swift movement and climbing in games like Assassin's Creed, the climbing in this game is so slow in both the doing of the next action, but also need to work out where to go. Assassin's Creed had done similar climb puzzles, where there was a specific route to follow, but these were infrequent and done more so as a break from the game. In Submerged, however, climbing is a great portion of the experience. I feel it might have been better if climbing was quickened and perhaps extra puzzle additions were added, such as moving blocks to keep the player more engaged and diversify the experience a little. Next up, let's talk progression. This game has very little of it, and most of what progression it has feels pretty meaningless. The main sense of progression we get is from the collecting of the supplies, story pieces, and the extra boat parts, all stemming from the same gameplay ideology of collection, so although there may be different things we are collecting, they still feel the same to us as a player. Also, these give very little in the way of rewards. The supplies and story pieces progress the respective story threads, and as mentioned earlier, may feel satisfying to those motivated by uncovering the mystery, but overall it just feels very lackluster given the repetition we must endure. The boat parts allow us to have extra time to speed boost, however these are more a convenience rather than an improvement. It might have been interesting if Miku acquired extra equipment like grappling hooks, rope, etc. to help her navigate the environment and to reach newer places, and to improve movement fluidity. And the boat pieces could have allowed access to deeper water, or perhaps be able to smash through debris. Both of these elements could have allowed us to feel further rewarded by exploring and to give a better sense of progression. Although do note that adding extra gameplay mechanics might clash with the ideology and objective of the game. A sense of progression I found interesting was that as the story progresses, Miku also seems to be suffering the same fate as the creatures and environment around her, which increases as the days progress. So we do have a sort of a constant visual indication of progression. What I found even more interesting is that this also affects the boat, which is more subtle, but overall I think helps encapsulate some of the themes or messages the developers are trying to get across in this game. I think the environment in this game is incredible in a pretty unique setting. However, coming back to the progression, it all starts to feel a bit samey. It might have been more interesting if there was more variety of things to climb, or if they had something more memorable. Other games would provide progression by offering a variety of different environments. The city in Submerged feels a bit like a wasted opportunity in its implementation. Now I know this discussion on the game seems really harsh, but in closing I'd like to reiterate there are some things I think are positives. The concept is great, the visuals are stunning, awesome music, and the wildlife in this game was an excellent addition. I'd like to finish with saying I think the creators do have a talent to make an amazing game while still delivering a powerful message. Unfortunately, Submerged is not that game. I'm really interested to see what they come up with in the future, and I wish Uppercut Studios the best of luck. Thank you all for watching. I know there are a lot of polarising views on this game, so if you have played it, leave some feedback down in the comments about what you did or did not like about the game. And if you haven't yet, click subscribe to join the Game Mage Battle Party, and check out some of our previous videos which are up on the screen right now. Alright, this is Kados, logging out.